Ahoy hoy. Basically, this is a response to Sword of Allah for his response to my video. Firstly, I was very surprised at the amount of shit slinging that has gone around and the amount of assumptions that people have come to based on an 8-minute video I posted. You assume you know a lot about me, but you know nothing. Basically, I acknowledge and understand that Palestinians are suffering. Yes, they were screwed over. Yes, Israel was built on their land. I'm not denying this. This is a fact. I acknowledge that many Palestinians have deep resentment that will last many generations toward Israel because of a recent history of violence and anger over the loss of land. This will not leave very easily because it's passed down from father to son, and everyone knows the story of what happened to them, why they were kicked off their land, when they were. But, Sword of Allah, you paint a very different picture of reality as well. Firstly, I want to say that from the way you speak, you sound fairly intelligent, but more intelligent than to assume that you don't have a bias. Come on. You have to understand that everyone has a bias in this, whether it's political, whether it's religious, or whether it's just your historical background. You have a bias of some sort. Don't assume that you don't, because if you do, then you're completely ignorant to the fact that you have any history behind you. Alright, as for your analogy was interesting, not quite accurate either. A better analogy would be you come home and there are two guys on your doorstep. One, British, the current government ruling over your land, and two, an 80-pound, 40-year-old man who lost his whole family in the Holocaust. The British guy says, we in Europe screwed this guy over, so now we're going to screw you over because you have cousins just over the border that can help you out if you need it. And so, yeah, we'll kick you out of your house and give it to this guy because we screwed him over, and he has some friends that lived here, and they've lived here for a while and have some history here. So we'll screw you over because of it. Your cousins over the next border did not open their doors to you but said, hey, wait a second. All right, you guys go live on the garbage dump for a little bit, and we'll come back and fight for you and give you back your houses. The cousins failed to return your houses because they lost in the war, and you're now stuck in a garbage dump, and all you see is the 40-year-old man build his house bigger and expand and grow wealthier. Of course there's going to be resentment and hatred towards the guy you saw as stealing your house. But your cousins with your armies couldn't get your houses back. Your situation is getting worse and no one seems to be helping. I'm not trying to portray Israel as the victim. I want to show that Israelis, the innocent citizens that live in Israel, are suffering as well. My brother was almost hit with a Katusha. His farm for therapeutic riding for kids with special needs was attacked. What did he do to deserve the targeting? Nothing. When it's malicious against innocent citizens on both sides, there are serious problems, and people need to understand that the suffering is mutual. Until people start to understand that both sides are suffering and that both sides are victims and both sides are being hurt in many cases, nothing will come of it until both sides realize that. The indoctrination I was speaking about is shown in the video. I will link to this video. When children are taught to hate another group from a very young age, there's very little room given for a future or a peace later on. If children are taught from the age of 3 that Jews are apes and pigs, or certain Jews should be killed, the Jewess that this child is talking about because she tried to put poison in the Prophet Muhammad's food should be killed, there's little room for ever thinking that another Jew would be a good person, or someone you could work with, or someone you could have peace with. I've seen the problem firsthand of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It's been painful to watch, but the very problem at hand can be seen in the relationship between the Israelis and Palestinians on a personal level. Israelis and Palestinians don't talk to each other. The children aren't allowed to see each other. The children aren't allowed to play together. The These people are stuck in bubbles, and when you put yourself in a bubble and only listen to opinions of that bubble, you stop hearing the other side. And what I saw was I was walking in the old city of Jerusalem after leaving the Western Wall with a group of Orthodox Jews. I see one Orthodox man walking with his son. We walk past another street and there's 5 or 10 Palestinian kids playing with a toy. It was a simple toy, whatever. It didn't matter what type of toy, but these five or 10 kids are playing around and having a good time, and the Jewish kid stops and stares. He's looking at them. It's obvious he wants to go and play, but the father tugs him along. It's this separation and this segregation of the two people that will never help to reconcile any differences. Because they can't talk to each other, there is no room for anyone to see eye to eye or to understand the other side. Both sides have been screwed over. Both sides have been murdered on many accounts. Both sides have been troubled. Until people start to realize that both sides have suffered and both sides need help, nothing is going to come of this. Sorry, just checking my list. The child that I saw, he did not pause because he hated those kids. A child does not hate from the beginning of life. A child is taught to hate. And while this Palestinian and Israeli need to understand the humanity in each other, no. A child is taught to hate, and while this teaching on both sides, as it seems apparent, continues to pervade both societies, no one will ever be able to understand each other or see beyond the rhetoric already instilled. Israelis and Palestinians don't talk to each other, there is no dialogue, there is no room for understanding. It is just a cycle of hatred spewed upon top of hatred, and not until both sides recognize the suffering of the other or the wrongs committed against the other will any resolution come about. I hope this has clarified my position on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. While I have barely scratched the surface, everyone can understand more clearly my point of view. Ahoy.